Dala! So as you can see, I have had a lot of free time today. So I want to talk to you in this episode of African Spirituality, talk to you about the griots. So in African spirituality and African culture in general, we have what we call griots. Griots are individuals who are artists, who are politically involved. So they are there to using their art, whether it is singing, it is painting, it is drawing, it is craft, it is making masks or making all kind of stuff, expressing in an art, in any type of art form that they may use in order to express what is going on in society, to point out injustices, to point out what should be what people should focus their attention on and resolve. And sometimes even griot will present a solution to the problem that they have identified. So the beauty of the role of the griot was really somebody who was there to kind of have an external perspective on everything, a broader perspective on what was going on within the culture, and expressing that in their music, in their songs, in their art. And so when the people were listening to the griot, they had an opportunity to sit back and really listen to the issues, listen to the problems. And as people listened, people started talking. And part of the African culture, and I'll do a separate video on that, is the power of the exchange and communication, the power of sitting under a tree and conversing with each other, exchanging and proposing solutions to the problem. Most of the time in Africa, it is not, when you have a collective problem, it requires a collective solution. It requires everybody to pinch in, to jump in and express themselves and provide this different perspective that are needed when there are an issue that touch everyone. And the griot was kind of like the fire started into that. The griot is the person that has some integrity, that was able to really live off their art. So they were not inclined to be corrupted by money or anything like that, because they were self-sufficient. Their art was just enough for them to live by and to be productive and be able to have that role where they're not worrying about eating tomorrow. And they had also some form of recognition from the community. So the role of the griot is one that's very, very essential. The griot is kind of like the whistleblower in a certain way. That's the person who's going to be able to say, well, we're going into the wrong direction on certain things, just ringing the alarm. And today, we've seen less and less griot, unfortunately. I think as the Western type of vision of the industry and music and art has kind of taken over, we've seen less people being able to vocalize their take on what is going on socially and politically. And so there is a call now for the griot to come back. There is a call now for people to be able to use art in an expressive way that will bring social cohesion and that will nurture the culture back again and strive so that there's not only just a rise of the culture, but also a rise of certain standards to ensure that people in the community are all being treated in a way that is fair and acceptable. And I think that's what we're missing today. People have sent me some time to ask me to compare, to talk to me about, Beyonce's new visual album or whatever it's called, or to talk to me about certain entertainers. And I think there's a lot of confusion especially if you live in America. There's a lot of confusion about what is a griot. What is somebody who's independent from the political stands, and who's able to voice and actually point out injustices. And I think we did have that. For example, if you look at certain entertainers, if you look at Prince, or if you look at Michael Jackson, people who were very vocal about certain injustices. Michael Jackson was very much vocal about how minorities were being oppressed, about how children's rights were being oppressed, and putting actions behind that. He donated a lot of money, he acted, he did a lot of foundation things, he did a lot of charity work behind that, and he was very vocal. The public knew his stance and his life work during his lifetime. So he embodied To me, he embodied the griot. He lived from the art. We know that he was very young when he started getting into the music industry, and he produced arts that motivated the people. He produced art that made people of color feel proud. His name alone managed to reach people even outside of the culture throughout the world. His way of presenting social injustices, of uplifting black women, of promoting the protection of children, is such a body of work that inspired so many people around the world, that it is undeniable to see in him the charisma of a griot, the charisma of somebody who carried an era and was able to be vocal and to express that in a way where everyone could understand, and that everyone clearly knew where he stood on those issues and how much he fought for the system to recognize these injustices and do something about it, and how much he put himself personally to do things about it. Now, when when people bring me other artists, especially in the United States, in hip hop or rap or whatever thing, I think it's very hard to find. I haven't seen in this quote unquote new generation any form of griot, of people who meet that standards, of people who are willing to not only be vocal in their music, in their art form, but also in their character and in their actions, in terms of where they're placing their money, where they're doing with it. Because being a griot is really not just being an entertainer. Anyone can become an entertainer. If you go watch on YouTube, anyone starting a YouTube channel can entertain, pretty much, because you always find other people that you're going to be able to entertain. So that is not just the aspect of the griot. Being the griot is really a call. It really has to do with it is at the spiritual level as well. It's not just a profession, a hobby, or something like that. It's really a spiritual call that's going to require some sacrifice. Anyone that has been a griot, that has been around griots, have known about all of the sacrifices that they had to make for themselves and for others, saying things that people don't necessarily want to hear, saying things that are going to make some people uncomfortable in order to trigger change. So to me, it's very, very hard. I think I haven't. There's no artist right now in my mind in the United States that I can call a griot that's doing that body of work, that is openly doing that consciously as well. Because Michael Jackson was very vocal, so he knew he was about that vocation. He was about that aspect of his life, and so we didn't have to wonder, is that what he means, or is that what he's trying to get to? No, he was very vocal about it, and he was very expressive about it, which is really all of the aspects of the griot. Now, coming to all of the other entertainers that people are bringing to me and saying, well, like for example the Beyonce last album, and I said, the difference is that the griot is consistent. Which means that the griot also reflects the value of society, and the griot is also part of the role of the griot is to be a guardian of such value in its expressive art. And that I don't see that from Beyonce. I think also a lot of people are looking into the videos and saying, she's honoring Oshun, African deities and all that, talking about voodoo, talking about this. I think all of that is only speculation, because she hasn't come out and said this is what the video was about. She's bringing different images and touching different things and getting a lot of people being emotionally wrapped up, emotionally excited. But then when you look at the body of work, and that's the key, you have to look at the body of work, not just different trends. When Michael Jackson started back, well, I'm not comparing her to Michael Jackson, but I'm saying the griot, when you look at the griot and his body of work, becoming a griot is a call that you answer. And it's a call that people will realize and see based on the body of the work, the art that you produce. And so it is not about, getting people wrapped up and spending their money one way or another. It is about people being conscious of certain things and either triggering them to find solution, initiating some type of dialogue, or bringing solutions to the table within the art form that the griot has chosen. I think a lot of time people reduce the griot to a singer playing an instrument and things like that, but a griot can take many, many different type of forms. many different type of art. Like I mentioned, a griot can be somebody who's building a mask, doing a mask, infusing that energy. And some of those masks, you can look at them and see an entire narrative and story into them. So it is important that all of that knowledge is infused from the art, and that you're able to see that from the art. The art is supposed to be speaking for itself in a way. That you should not be wondering, is this person talking about this religion and this person doing this and that? When, for example, Beyonce said openly that she was a Christian, that she's going to church. So why would she be honoring the Orishas? So it's up to speculation for people to say that now she's doing that or now she's doing this, but that's speculation because she hasn't come out and said that that's actually what she wants to do, or that's what she's aiming with the album or whatever. And I mean, it's not like I care or anything like that. It's just because when people bring me information, I try to take a different stand because, you know, I'm not a Beyonce fan. I either way, there are songs that I do like about her. There's songs I haven't paid for an album, so I'm not, my money is not going towards that. So I guess I'm a little bit more detached emotionally from her artwork. Compared to people who've been, you know, investing in her music and things like that, buying albums and all different things, going to concerts and stuff like that. So when I reflect about an artist, any artist, I look at the body of work, and you know, I envision about what is the message that this artist is bringing. Is it a message that's going to uplift and help and point us, to help us reflect while enjoying ourselves? Or is it a message that's just, you know, being thrown out there because of the money that it could bring? So those are just questions for you to also think about as you're grasping that, because the ultimate goal of the griot is not to make financial gain or anything like that. Even though the griot will be recognized by the community, the griot will have a certain status because of the truth that he's speaking, and because of the truth that the griot is also seeking. That's why sometimes people will say, you know, being a griot it's not just about writing songs, whatever, because it's whatever you feel and things like that. It's really like an art form, meaning that they are some of those griots actually take the time to investigate certain things, to get involved in certain processes, in certain institutions, to see certain things, to discuss certain things with the people. Their interaction with the community also is going to impact their work and the way they're going to present the art, the choice of words they're going to be using, the language they're going to be using, and the emotion that they're going to put behind their music. And, you know, a lot of people now, from my generation, 80s, 90s, are saying that music died, that a lot of the music is soulless. And that could be a reflection of the fact that there's no more griots, and that we're waiting for the griots to come back. We're waiting for those young people who have that inspiration, that fire into them, that have really want to speak the truth and really want to take the community in a direction that is going to be much more expressive and much more conducive. So I think I want you to think about the griot. Who's the griot in your life? Who's the person that has been able to hold you to your truth, to hold you accountable to your words, to be able to point when you're out of line? We all have griots in our lives. Sometimes it is harder for us to realize that they are there. Sometimes we forget that they are there. We forget to honor them, to thank them for and appreciate the view that they have. And I think the griot is one of the archetypes that I will put with the Virgo in some type of way, because the Virgos are very analytic in some way, really about also criticizing, both positive and negative. And so that characteristic kind of like could kind of match with that element of Virgo. And as I'm working right now on a course on tarot, because a lot of you have asked me, you are new to tarot and you would like to have a different perspective on the tarot. I'm seeing right now, I'm working on how can I bridge my African spirituality into the system of tarot, because the archetypes are very different. We're not from the same way of thinking and viewing. And for somebody who has, you know, worked with tarot for a long time, I'm starting to see different bridges where I could bridge that system to make it much more accessible to us Africans who are coming from that cultural and spiritual perspective. But to get back to the griot, I think it is important for us to support our artists, to acknowledge when they are speaking truth, and to be able to recognize the state of the community and the vision they're offering us, and to decide whether it is a vision that is acceptable, that we should be full on course behind, or if that's a vision we should reject. So don't think that the music you're consuming is just music. Someone is trying to tell you that it is just music. But from our African perspective, music is not just music. Music, just like everything else in the world, has a purpose. And sometimes the purpose of music is to distract you from whatever else is going on. Which is something that's fairly new, because that is not the way that our traditional African spirituality intended it to be. Music for us essentially has always been grounded into uplifting, into assisting you in your search for truth, and into uplifting the community and voicing everything that's been suppressed in the society and anything that's going wrong, so that we can actually acknowledge it, find a solution, and go in a better direction for everyone. So I hope this video was helpful in terms of you kind of thinking about griot in the modern society, as you reflect as what was the role of the griot back then, and how we can encourage people who have that calling into them, so that they can know that speaking the truth, taking a step back to acknowledge reality, and to acknowledge what's going on in our community, whether it is good, especially when it is bad, so we can actually open our eyes, confront it, and find solutions that are going to serve us all. And I think this is a critical time where we need that. We need more, especially if you are, I know that some of you are, young teenagers, young adults. I think it's very important that you, if you do have that call, or if you see people who have that call in them, that you do encourage and support that, because the change comes from the youth. It doesn't come from the elders. The elders are trying to maintain tradition, teach tradition, and guard tradition. That's their role. The youth are the one are going to take tradition to another higher level. So it is incumbent on you to really assess that, learn the tradition, and see how you can contribute to it, improve it, and find your voice. If your calling is to be a griot, find your voice and let that voice express itself and shine. Create your own platform so you can express that voice, because we do need it. This is the time. We are in a time where everything else is now, all of the vortex and the portals are open for that energy to come back, for a lot of our traditional principles are rising again. And this is why a lot of you are going to feel that type of energy, are going to be being called to become healers, to become all that, so that the community can rise again, and so that we can actually restore balance to our lives. So thank you so much for watching this episode of African Spirituality. As usual, you can send me your comments and your messages, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.